The following is an excerpt from the book Experiences of Thought by Anthony Kahn, available now on Amazon.com and Kindle. Loving logic in matters of mind, logical morality, right and wrong. Pages upon pages have been written on the subject since writing began. Every religious tome of any weight provides direction to the reader on how they should or must live their lives, and volume upon volume of legislation exists to provide the backbone of any human enterprise, from small local organizations to entire nations. But is it really so complicated? We can all watch a movie and work out who the bad guys are, but then perhaps that is part of the problem. Good and bad is indeed interwoven with logic and recognizable to us from our earliest days. But at the same time, there is a subjective aspect to it that comes from our ignorance of all but our own sphere of understanding. We understand our own background extremely well, and those of our family and friends very well. But how well do we know the background of those far removed from us? Like it or not, we are all victims of circumstance, every single one of us. We spoke in section 2.5 about the inevitability of our circumstances and choices given our ultimate lack of say in either our biology or our environment. Though we may have some say in the latter, our choices in this regard still arise from our biology and aspects of environment in which we do not have a say. So how, given our apparent ultimate absolution of any responsibility for our actions, are we to arrive at any meaningful concept of justice? Well, let us think about morality in the most basic sense. If we must follow one law and one law only, then that law must be do no harm. What is harm? Unfortunately, that can be a source of fiery debate, but it doesn't really need to be. As a very great man taught a very long time ago, you need simply treat others as you would have them treat you. There really isn't any more to it than that. Morality is wonderfully simple in its sheer logicalness, and yet so many find need to add to that which logic dictates. Our world is a world of beings like ourselves who strive for happiness and to be free of suffering. We therefore need simply to strive to give others the same life that we would have for ourselves. If you try in all you do to look after and respect the basic logical right of every individual to be happy and free of suffering, then your actions are moral. End of story. There is no need of long discussions between preeminent scholars or consultation with ancient texts of wisdom. We need simply have genuine concern for the well-being and happiness of our fellow thinking, feeling beings. Well, this is all very nice and all, but what about those that commit terrible crimes? Are they never to be brought to account? The thing about logic is that it is always self-consistent and satisfying to beings of logic such as ourselves. Think again about that which is the ultimate goal of all beings, to be happy and free of suffering. Would such a state as this not be heaven itself? Meanwhile, a state devoid of happiness and full of suffering surely would be hell. What happens in our own world as our mind perceives it? If we are selfish or commit heinous acts, could we be happy or free of suffering? We must inhabit the world we create for ourselves, and if our actions are hellish, so too will the world be in which our mind dwells. There is no escape for anyone. Kindness begets happiness, whilst evil begets sorrow and suffering. But there is a silver lining for all of us imperfect souls who try to do good, but nevertheless are never free of selfishness. That silver lining arises via the understanding that is born of suffering. There is no greater teacher than suffering, for it teaches us the consequences of our actions, forcing us to experience them firsthand. The selfish, apathetic mind creates suffering for others, but also for itself. Little by little, the apathetic mind gains the experience with which to understand the plight of others and to grow empathetic, creating happiness where once it created only suffering and sorrow and dwelt in the same. So then, in light of all of this, what should our justice system look like? Just as we discussed in section 2.5, we must be careful to make sure that there is a distinction in our thinking between justice and vengeance. A truly just system must serve two purposes. Firstly, it must protect society from those that would seek to do harm. Secondly, it must genuinely endeavor to bring evildoers out of their hell and into a happier place, for the sake of both themselves and everybody else as per the first purpose. They must come to understand the suffering that they have caused, but they must also be shown what kindness looks like. As a society, we need to think less in terms of glorifying heroes and punishing monsters, and much more in terms of curing the diseases of selfishness and hatred that inflict all of us, to varying extents, and bring universal suffering. There are certainly unforgivable crimes, but let us not think that there are unforgivable people, or we will never truly be rid of suffering, any of us.